Welcome to BC Mnemonics. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at this unequal hour Roman altitude dial. Now, what's interesting to note about this dial is that it operates under a system of approximation, meaning that it does not exactly model the celestial sphere and the movement of the sun. Because its measurement of time is only approximate, it cannot effectively be adapted to be used with equal hours, although its movements and its measurements are reasonably accurate for seasonal hours. Now, before we get into things, it's worth mentioning that the gnomon assembly on this dial roughly resembles the gnomon assembly on the first known Egyptian portable altitude dial. Now, this is just speculation, but it is possible that the Roman dial is an evolution of the principles in the Egyptian dial, being effectively an Egyptian dial adapted to be used at multiple latitudes. Now, on the face of the dial itself, we have a latitude scale around the edge here, going from 0 to 90. Now, seeing as though we have a 0 to 90, you would assume that this dial can be used anywhere from the equator to North Pole, although it is much more reliably used at the middle latitudes. And on the back here, we have a gazetteer filled with cities and their corresponding latitudes of the ancient world, to be used in reference with the latitude scale to help with setting the dial. Now, the first step to setting the dial is setting the latitude itself. So, taking note of this equinox line running through the center of the dial, we align the equinox line with the latitude of operation. So, I will align it to 40, 42, and 44. Each increment represents 2 degrees. So, set up for 44 degrees north, this dial is almost ready to be used, the only remaining step being to set the date. Now, to do that, we take note of this conic section at the bottom here. And by superimposing one of these reference cones, here and here, onto this bottom cone, we can see that each segment of the cone represents a month. Now, it being June, I will set the gnomon to this farthest left segment, right here. See, we have June. If this cone were to be superimposed on here, this section right here would correspond with June. Now, with all that done, this dial is ready to be used in the sun. And while there is a little bit of sunlight here, I doubt this will be visible. Yes, don't think you can see that, but as I'm suspending it, I see the shadow from the gnomon falls right about here, which is within the bounds of the 10th hour, meaning that sunset is relatively close at the 12th hour. But being a seasonal hour altitude dial, this dial and this hour mark shows me how many segments along in the daylight period it currently is, that being 10 at this moment. Now that will conclude this presentation, and thank you for watching.